to be on the thing. I actually wanted to do, things began happening and allowed me to do it. So I think that's right. I think, you know, Wellesley breeds this sense of, you explore your passions, but find the proper career that will sustain them and help the world, versus follow your creative impulses and see what might happen.
And a career that has a structured path, which actually TV does. I just didn't follow it because I didn't really know about it. But yeah, I think if you follow, and you know, I mentioned like the silly little things like publishing tiny essays and like blogs that didn't pay anything and weren't paper publications and weren't, you know, like, but it builds and it builds, and those, I mean, looking back, it wasn't calculated, but now I see that there was at least some instinct that was building, I think,
It's fantastic.
So glad that worked out.
I want to talk a little bit about the adorable child in the room, Jin, your son. I wanted to talk to you a little bit. You mentioned about the balance between family and work, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how have you navigated a career in the film industry with motherhood, and how do you think women filmmakers might prepare themselves for a career, having a career and having children?
I wasn't prepared at all. So I don't think you can prepare for a baby. Like, I had this vague notion of how busy I was gonna be, and I had this image of like the woman that does it all, you know. But I still don't know if I'm actually doing it right. I'm like, every morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, he's still here. What happened? Actually, he woke up this morning with a scratch on his head, and I was like, oh my god, like what happened? No, I have a really great partner, and he's also a screenwriter, like an aspiring screenwriter, and we both are in the industry, and we both understand, like, you know, the long hours, and like he right now is pretty much like the stay-at-home dad, and because I work in Malibu almost every day, I'm gone like 10 hours away from home, and so he's working from home. He works for an acting studio part-time, and he's basically like raising our son and working at the same time. So he's like the man who does it all. Like, the image that I had in my head, it was like, it's him. But yeah, so I can't take credit for everything that people think I do. I would say though, it's very different. Like, right after I gave birth, the day after, my husband got into the NBC writing program, and you know, when he showed up, and then he was like, oh, I'm a new dad, and everyone's just like, wow, like, you know, this glorious man who's like a new father, and then he met all his deadlines, so they all like praised him and, you know, made him feel like really good about it. Meanwhile, I was like recovering and figuring out like what I was gonna do, my 2 failed projects, and I was like, oh god, I have to like get back into the work, and like I gotta work, or else people are gonna think that, you know, I'm out of it, and you know, she's not gonna be hireable because she's a mom. So I had to create these like special Facebook albums where I only have 1 album on my Facebook for my baby pictures, and not that many people can see it, because I was scared that like if I started posting all these baby photos and I'm in a park with my baby or whatever, people are gonna be like, oh, she's just like staying at home and she's not working anymore. So I had to kind of do this like image control, like brand awareness or something. and then I like jumped into these jobs where I don't know if it was really the right fit, but I felt like I had to, because I wanted to keep working. And then at the job, I was still breastfeeding, so I had to like leave every 2 hours to go to the bathroom and pump, and then come back, and I always felt like a little judged. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you're a new mom, like how cool, you can do everything. It was like, oh, you're a new mom, you're gonna start making excuses to go pump and like leave work early, or like make excuses to like not go to the screening that's after work hours or whatever. So just, there was a kind of like a perception difference, and I think it still exists. So yeah, I don't know if I've...
What did you do to, if anything, to shift those, like how did you, other than, you know, the Facebook kind of image control, you know, what would you say to your colleagues when they kind of approached you with that attitude? How do you
No one really like approached me about it. It was more just like maybe it's all in my head because we're Wellesley women, and so I feel like we always tell ourselves these things that people think about us, and it might not be true. But
Every possible angle.
yeah, like I'm like, I feel so good. Maybe they weren't, but I did feel a little bit like I want to be better. I want to not make being a new mom an issue with work. So I did stop breastfeeding at 1 year, which it was kind of, I wanted to breastfeed longer, but then, you know, I found out my son was allergic to like 9 different things, and that meant that I couldn't eat those 9 different things, and I'm a foodie, and I can't do that. So it was all kind of working towards the same
It's
goal.
about boundaries.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was like,
Boundaries.
so yeah, so it kind of all, I just felt like there had to be a point where I'm like, okay, I can't make this an issue anymore. And thankfully I do work for a woman filmmaker who has 3 kids, so she's very understanding about kind of the work and family balance. So I felt like that was really great. You know, that was really great to be able to go to her and say, you know, we may have to move from LA, like further away to Orange County because I can't afford daycare. So I might have to go to Malibu from Orange County, so I can't go every day.
Right.
So so now I don't work there every day. I work like, depends on the week, but it could go from 1 day to 3 days in Malibu.
Your employer was willing to find the balance
Yeah,
with you
yeah.
and from a place
That's
of
awesome.
understanding.
Yeah.
That's great.
What about questions? I wonder, all these people, I wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
We
have
definitely will
questions.
open it up to questions.